Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra, fellow Vox Terrans. If you have not done so, please do subscribe to my channel. Please like and comment. Mannerly comments preferred. Today's another show where I want to help you connect the dots from the extreme and unpredictable weather we're now experiencing to fossil fuel driven climate change, because the media historically won't. If you're like me and you've been talking about this issue, global warming, once it was called, for decades, you've seen it go from people look at you like you're crazy to, maybe you got a point there and we got to do something. Well, we need to push it more than that because the effects are kicking in now. And if we simply post articles about another extreme heat wave and expecting people are going to connect it to global warming, to fossil fuel driven climate change, we can't count on that because the rest of the media isn't doing that. Because I believe largely the power of the fossil fuel industry and related industries within the media through advertising, ownership, boards of directors, etc., etc. So to help you with that, I'm going to share with you an article first from NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or Laboratory. Laboratory, as the British would say. NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Teachable Moments, October 18th, 2019. NASA's Eye on Extreme Weather. I'll provide you the link and you can look it up. From the article, How It Works. Global climate change, or the overall warming of our planet, has had observable effects, meaning NASA has observed them. Glaciers have shrunk. Ice on rivers and lakes is breaking up and melting earlier in the year. That one I had to include. You live near a lake? I don't know if you grew up near a lake, and maybe when you were a kid you used to go climbing around on the ice on the lake, or knew people who'd walk out on it, and now it's dangerous to. And then you talk to climate deniers who are maybe older than you are, and they're acting like it was never like that. It was. It did freeze more than it used to. Right here at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratories site. Precipitation patterns have changed. Plant and animal habitat ranges have shifted. Now that gets us into the changing diseases and disease patterns. Remember, the heating planet, these critters are all shifting around, coming into contact with each other. We're experiencing new diseases. And trees are flowering sooner, exposing fruit blossoms to damaging erratic spring hail and deadly late frost. You might hear farmers say, spring's coming earlier. It is. Now this next quote really gets me as somebody who has heard about global warming, as it used to be called. Actually, I heard about it when it was called the man-made greenhouse effect from my childhood. And this one really gets to someone like me because nothing's been done. Effects that scientists had predicted in the past are now occurring. It's all been predicted. Loss of sea ice, accelerated sea level rise, shifting storm patterns, and longer, more intense heat waves. And longer, more intense heat waves from the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Longer, more intense heat waves. And that's today's topic. Now, one reason there's more heat waves is the overall Earth temperature is hotter. There's simply less coal to go around. Since the 1880s, the average global surface temperature has risen about 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Got to commit that one to memory. Since the 1880s, the start of the Industrial Revolution, the start of the burning of all the fossil fuels, the average global surface temperature has risen about 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, people can say this and this and that. Keep it simple. You keep dumping billions of tons every year of known heat-trapping gases in the atmosphere, they're going to do that. And if you really want to deny it, well, they're bad to breathe in anyway. Back to NASA. Data show this warming of the Earth system has been driven in large part by increased emissions into the atmosphere of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases created by human activities. And what really irks somebody who's been thinking about this issue for a lifetime and remembers everyone mocking Al Gore and electing George W. Bush, who walked away from the climate treaty of the time and instead chose to invade Iraq, but somehow that was a better choice than Al Gore would have been. What really irks someone in that position that I'm in is that 18 of the 19 warmest years on record have occurred since 2001. September 19 tied as the hottest month on record for the planet. So we see the heating overall trend. Now, according to a Yale article, what happens then is that overall hotter temperature increases the likelihood of heat waves. But better yet, from the 4th National Climate Assessment, Volume 2, released in 2018, which, by the way, the Trump administration had it released after Thanksgiving, and many believe, and I would completely agree with this, they did that so it got less airplay, less attention to release it on Black Friday when people are preoccupied. Well, why wouldn't they want it to get attention? Because if you think about it, the whole agenda of the Trump administration, and many politicians, sure, but especially with this administration, has been to promote the burning of fossil fuels. So according to the 4th National Climate Assessment, heat waves are occurring more often than they used to in major cities across the United States. Now here's what we have to go with, right? Because causation is a difficult animal to establish. And we have to go with the fact that heat waves are increasing. We have to highlight that. We have to lead with that when we post articles about the crazy heat waves. Because that's all science will give us to go on. Science only operates in probability. And that's another reason, besides the corporate news media ownership, the structure of that, that's another reason why environmental science in general gets dismissed, because scientists deal in probability, not in black and white certainty. So key point 1, the frequency of heat waves has increased steadily over time. The frequency of heat waves has increased steadily over time from the 4th National Climate Assessment, Volume 2. From an average of 2 heat waves per year during the 1960s to more than 6 per year during 2010s. So I think just knowing that statistic and posting that along with your post about a heat wave is really helpful. Frequency of heat wave up, another statistic important to note, heat wave season expanded. The same as fire season has expanded, wildfire season that is. The average heat wave season across the 50 major cities in this indicator is 47 days longer now than it was in the 1960s. The length of heat wave season has increased significantly in 45 of these locations as the Earth's climate warms. However, hotter than usual days and nights are becoming more common, and heat waves are expected to become more frequent and more intense. Heat waves are not just a nuisance, they also cause, here, quoting from the National Climate Assessment, extreme heat events can lead to more heat-related illnesses and deaths, especially if communities are not prepared, which they're not prepared. That's the whole point of my show. Let's think about long-term survival of the species, focus society's resources in that direction, instead of on the short-term, really devoid of meaning, consumer purchasing that we gear everyone's lives towards. Heat waves can lead to illness and death, particularly among older adults and the very young, economically disadvantaged groups. So here we see similar to the COVID-19 pattern of who suffers more. It breaks, though, at another group at risk for heat wave death is those in the outdoor occupations. Prolonged exposure to excessive heat can lead to other impacts. For example, damaging crops, injuring or killing livestock. So let's think about that as we alter the chemical atmosphere of our planet. We are making it harder and harder to grow food. Extreme events can also lead to power outages as demands for air conditioning strain the power grid. The most serious health impacts associated with high temperatures are at night. If the air temperature stays too warm at night, the body faces extra strain as the heart pumps harder to try to regulate body temperature. Now, I included that quote that we're more at risk and more vulnerable by this higher nighttime temperature because I also mentioned those higher nighttime temperatures in a video I did about wildfires. As the nights don't cool down like they used to, that gives a leg up to wildfires. And as the winters don't cool down like they used to, and I'm assuming the nights as well, that gives a leg up to certain disease-bearing insects like the Lyme's disease-bearing ticks that are spreading throughout many parts of the United States where they did not used to reside, and to some of the tree-damaging beetles. And also, think about this. as we experience more heat waves, especially these damaging Arctic heat waves, and as it said at NASA, the ice is melting. Well, those heat waves melt the ice, and that takes away the Earth's natural air conditioning system. That ice reflects heat, solar radiation off of the Earth. With that ice shrinking, the Earth is absorbing more heat. With the permafrost layers melting, the Earth is releasing more methane that was trapped there. So what happens is, if we don't explain well enough, simply enough, quickly enough, global warming, climate change, greenhouse effect which was driven initially by fossil fuels, is leading to these extreme and unpredictable atmospheric conditions. If we don't explain that soon enough and get that information on the table, what's happening is that what was initially fossil fuel driven climate change is setting horrible feedback loops in motion. So that melting ice then, those burning forests, they all begin to add more heat trapping gases, and the Earth loses its ability to cool itself. So eventually you'll get to a point where the deniers will say, see, look, it's not fossil fuels at all. It's the melting ice caps. It's the permafrost melting, which was initially driven by fossil fuels. Let's get that down for the record, Your Honor. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please share my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like and comment, all that to help get the word out. Please become a supporter at Patreon to make this channel a really sustainable effort so we can improve the quality of this channel. And until next time, as always, peace be with you.